The morning sickness hit me like clockwork at 7:15, 3 days in a row. I knelt on the cool bathroom tile of our bedroom suite, my forehead pressed against porcelain, while my body betrayed me in the most predictable way possible. Behind me, Luca held my hair back with one hand, his other rubbing gentle circles on my back. "That's it, amore," he murmured. "I've got you." When the wave passed, I sat back on my heels, accepting the damp cloth he offered. 6 months of marriage had taught him my rhythms, my needs, the exact pressure I liked when he massaged my temples during headaches or held me during storms. But this was new territory for both of us. "I'm calling Dr. Martinez," he said, reaching for his phone. "It's probably just that new recipe I tested yesterday. The lavender might have been too strong." Even as I said it, I knew the lie was transparent. The exhaustion that had settled into my bones, the tenderness in my breasts, the way certain smells suddenly made me nauseous. My body was telling me something I wasn't quite ready to hear. Luca crouched beside me, his dark eyes searching mine with that intensity that still made my pulse quicken. "Aurora, how late are you?" I looked away, counting days in my head. 10 days, maybe 11. Maybe. His voice was gentle, not pushing, just present. "When were you planning to tell me?" "When I was sure. I didn't want to get our hopes up if it was just stress or..." "Our hopes?" He tilted my face back to his, and I saw something fierce and tender in his expression. "You think I wouldn't want to know the moment you suspected? I think you'd want to wrap me in protective custody and hire a medical team to follow me around." I tried for lightness, but my voice cracked slightly. "I think you'd turn into an overprotective nightmare." His mouth curved, that rare, full smile that transformed his entire face. "You're absolutely right. I would do all of those things." He pressed a kiss to my forehead. "But first, I'm taking you to see Dr. Martinez, today, this morning. I have orders to fill at the bakery. Maria can handle the bakery for one morning." He stood, pulling me gently to my feet. "This is more important." 2 hours later, I lay on an examination table while Dr. Martinez moved an ultrasound wand across my abdomen, her expression professionally neutral. Luca stood beside me, his hand gripping mine so tightly I could feel his pulse racing in his palm. "There," Dr. Martinez said, turning the monitor toward us. "See that flicker? That's the heartbeat." The tiny, rapid flutter on the screen stole my breath. Real. This was real. Not stress, not imagination, but an actual life growing inside me. "You're about 8 weeks along," Dr. Martinez continued. "Everything looks healthy and normal. I'll want to see you back in 4 weeks, but congratulations. You're going to be parents." Luca made a sound I'd never heard from him before, something between a laugh and a sob. His free hand covered his mouth, his eyes fixed on that flickering heartbeat, like it was the most important thing in the universe. "Can you give us a moment?" he asked, his voice rough. Dr. Martinez smiled knowingly. "Of course. Take all the time you need. I'll be back in 10 minutes to discuss next steps." The moment the door closed, Luca turned to me, and I saw tears tracking down his face. In 18 months together, I'd seen him angry, protective, passionate, tender, but I'd never seen him cry. "Luca, I never thought I'd have this," he said, his palm spreading across my still flat stomach. "A family. A child. Something good growing from everything I've been." He met my eyes. "You've given me everything, Aurora. Everything I didn't know I needed." I pulled him down to kiss me, tasting salt and joy and promise. "We're in this together. Every moment, every challenge, every sleepless night ahead." "Every moment," he agreed, his forehead resting against mine. "I'm going to protect you both, whatever it takes." The fierceness in his voice made something warm unfold in my chest. This was the man I'd married, the one who'd proven over and over that his love came with absolute commitment. We drove home in a bubble of happiness, planning nurseries and debating names, laughing about how Marco would probably install security cameras in the crib. The future stretched ahead, golden and possible, but the bubble shattered when we pulled up to the townhouse and found Marco waiting at the entrance, his expression grim. "Sir, we have a situation." Luca was out of the car instantly, his body shifting from joyful father-to-be to something harder, more dangerous. "What situation?" Someone delivered a package, addressed to Mrs. Rossi specifically. Marco's gaze flickered to me. It was screened for explosives and biological threats. It's clean, but the contents. He trailed off meaningfully. My stomach clenched with anxiety that had nothing to do with morning sickness. What was in it? Marco held out a small box, the kind jewelry came in. Inside, nestled on black velvet, was a single item, a hospital bracelet, pink plastic, sized for an infant, with a name printed in faded ink. Lucia Rossi. The world tilted beneath me. Lucia was what Luca and I had discussed naming our daughter if we had one, in honor of his late mother. But this bracelet was old, worn, the plastic yellowed with age. "There's a note," Marco said quietly, handing Luca a card. I watched the color drain from Luca's face as he read it, his jaw going tight, with barely controlled fury. "What does it say?" I asked, fear crawling up my spine. He didn't answer immediately. His eyes were distant, calculating, seeing threats I couldn't perceive. When he finally spoke, his voice was deadly calm. "It's from Dmitry Volkov. He's alive." "Who's Dmitry Volkov?" "Someone who should be dead." Luca's hand found mine, gripping tight. "Someone I made a deal with 5 years ago, before I met you. A deal I thought was settled when he disappeared." "What kind of deal?" His eyes met mine, and I saw the shadows of his past rising between us. The kind that required me to do things I'm not proud of. The kind where I chose the lesser evil to protect people I cared about. He looked down at the bracelet. Dmitry had a wife, a pregnant wife. She went into premature labor during negotiations that went wrong. The baby died. He blamed me. Horror settled in my chest. "Luca, I didn't cause it directly, but my actions that night, the pressure I put on him, the choices I forced him to make." He broke off, his voice raw. The baby's name was Lucia. He named her after my mother as a gesture of goodwill before everything fell apart. The bracelet suddenly felt obscene, a trophy from tragedy. Where has he been all this time? Prison, supposedly, but clearly that's changed. Luca pulled me close, his arms coming around me protectively. "He knows about you, knows we're married, and now he knows that I'm pregnant," I finished, understanding flooding through me with cold clarity. "He's targeting our baby because of his. I won't let him touch you." The vow was absolute, unbreakable. "I'll end this before it begins. How? However I have to." He pulled back, his hands framing my face. "Aurora, I need you to trust me. Things are going to get difficult. I'll need to make decisions you might not understand. Take actions that will remind you of who I used to be. But everything I do will be to keep you and our child safe." The old fear tried to surface, the memory of discovering what Luca was capable of when threatened. But I'd married him knowing his past, accepting that protection sometimes came with sharp edges. And I'd never doubted his love, his commitment to becoming better than his history. "I trust you," I said. "But Luca, I'm not a porcelain doll. I won't be locked away while you handle this alone. We're partners. We're having a baby together. That means we face threats together too." Something shifted in his expression, pride mixing with fear. "You're carrying our child. That makes you vulnerable in ways. That makes me invested in ways I wasn't before," I interrupted. "This threat is to our family, not just to me. So we handle it as a family." He studied me for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "As a family. But Aurora, if at any point I tell you to run, to hide, to get somewhere safe, then I'll trust you're making that call for the right reasons, not just because you're being overprotective." And I pressed my hand over his on my stomach. "But I won't be sidelined completely. I need to understand what we're facing." Luca exhaled slowly, acceptance and anxiety warring in his expression. "Then come inside. We need to talk about Dmitry Volkov, about what happened 5 years ago, and about why he wants revenge badly enough to wait this long." We moved into the house, Marco falling into step behind us with the silent vigilance that had become familiar. Inside, the home we'd built together suddenly felt less safe, the shadows in corners holding potential threats. In Luca's study, surrounded by the trappings of his legitimate empire, he poured himself whiskey and me water, then began telling me a story I'd never heard before. About a younger, harder version of himself. About a deal gone catastrophically wrong. About a woman who'd begged him for mercy while her husband made terrible choices. About a baby who'd never drawn breath outside the womb. And about Dmitry Volkov, who'd sworn vengeance with his dying wife's name on his lips, before disappearing into a Russian prison for crimes unrelated to Luca's world. "He should have died there," Luca said, his voice flat. "That's what my sources confirmed 2 years ago. Shanked in the prison yard, death verified. But clearly, someone lied. Someone helped him fake his death and escape. Why wait until now to come after you? Because now I have something to lose." His hand covered mine where it rested on my stomach. "Before you, I was untouchable because I had nothing that mattered more than my empire. But he's been watching. He knows you're my vulnerability. And now, with the baby, he has the perfect revenge," I finished. "Take from you what was taken from him. I won't let that happen." The vow was stone, immovable. "Whatever it takes, Aurora. Whatever I have to become again to keep you safe." And that phrase, "whatever I have to become again," sent a chill through me. Because I'd seen glimpses of that version of Luca, the one who'd built an empire through calculated violence and strategic fear. The one who'd made men disappear and problems evaporate. He'd worked so hard to leave that man behind, to be worthy of the life we'd built. And now that man might need to resurface to protect what we'd created. "Then we deal with it," I said, squeezing his hand. "Together. But Luca, promise me something. Anything. Don't lose yourself in protecting me. Don't become the man you were trying to escape. We find another way. A better way." His smile was sad, ancient. "Sometimes there is no better way, amore. Sometimes there's only survival." Outside, rain began to fall, drumming against the windows like a warning. And somewhere in the city, Dmitry Volkov was waiting, planning, preparing to take his revenge against the man who'd destroyed his family. But he didn't know Aurora Rossi. Didn't know that the woman carrying Luca's child was no helpless victim waiting to be saved. I'd faced down my own demons to build this life, and I'd be damned if I let someone else's ghosts destroy it. The next morning, I woke to find Luca's side of the bed cold. I checked my phone. 5:30. Too early even for his usual routine. Anxiety propelled me out of bed and down the stairs, following the low murmur of voices to his study. The door was cracked open. Through it, I saw Luca surrounded by men I'd never met, their faces hard and serious. Maps covered his desk, photographs scattered across the surface. Marco stood at attention, reporting something in rapid Italian that I couldn't follow. "We've confirmed 3 locations," one man said, switching to English. Brooklyn warehouse, apartment in Queens, and a boat docked at Aurora. Luca's voice cut through the briefing. He'd sensed me somehow, that preternatural awareness he had of my presence. Come in. I pushed the door open fully, suddenly conscious of my pajamas and disheveled hair in front of these professional men. But Luca's expression softened as I entered, and he held out his hand. Gentlemen, my wife. Aurora. These are associates helping us locate Dimitri. The men nodded respectfully, but I caught the calculation in their eyes. They were measuring me, determining if I was a weakness or an asset. I'd seen that look before, at Luca's business functions, and I'd learned to meet it with calm confidence. Have you found him? I asked, moving to Luca's side. We've narrowed it down, Marco said. He entered the country 3 weeks ago using a false passport. We're tracking his movements, but he's been careful. 3 weeks. He'd been here, watching us, planning, while I'd been blissfully unaware, focusing on recipes and the bakery's expansion plans. Show me, I said, looking at the maps. Luca hesitated. Aurora. Show me. If this affects our family, I need to understand it. He exchanged glances with Marco, then nodded. For the next 20 minutes, they walked me through what they knew. Dimitri had connections with the remaining members of the Bratva, the Russian organization Luca had pushed out of New York 5 years ago. He'd been building alliances, calling in old favors, assembling resources. He's not working alone, Marco concluded. We estimate at least 6 men, possibly more, all experienced, all dangerous. And their goal? I asked, though I already knew the answer. To hurt me, Luca said bluntly. By hurting you. The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. I thought of the baby growing inside me, barely the size of a plum, completely dependent on my body for protection. Maternal instinct flared, fierce and primal. Then we make sure they can't, I said. What's the plan? The plan is to find Dimitri before he makes his move, Luca replied. My men are monitoring all known associates, tracking financial transactions, watching ports and airports. We'll locate him, and we'll end this. And if he comes here, to the house, he won't get past the door. Luca's certainty was absolute. This house has security systems that most banks would envy. Guards rotate every 6 hours. Every entrance is monitored. You're safe here. But safe also meant trapped. I saw my future stretching ahead, weeks or months of being confined to this beautiful house, unable to work at the bakery I'd built, unable to live my life freely. I can't stay locked inside indefinitely, I said. The bakery needs me. My staff, my clients, can manage without you for a while. Luca's tone brooked no argument. Aurora, I know this is difficult, but until Dimitri is found, I need to know you're protected. Protected or imprisoned. His jaw tightened. There's a difference. Is there? Because from where I'm standing, it feels like I'm being punished for someone else's vendetta. The other men quietly excused themselves, sensing the coming argument. Marco closed the door behind them, leaving us alone. You think I want this? Luca's voice rose slightly, frustration breaking through his control. You think I enjoy knowing my past is threatening our future? That my choices are putting you and our child at risk? I think you're letting fear make you controlling. I moved away from him, needing space. I understand the threat is real, but you can't wrap me in cotton wool and expect me to just accept it. That's not who I am, and it's not the partnership we agreed to. Partnership doesn't mean ignoring reality when it's inconvenient. He ran his hands through his hair, a rare gesture of agitation. Dimitri is a trained killer with nothing to lose, and everything to gain by hurting you. I can't protect you if you insist on making yourself vulnerable. And I can't live in fear of what might happen. My hand moved to my stomach. This baby deserves parents who face problems together, not a father who locks the mother away at the first sign of danger. This isn't the first sign of danger. His shout startled us both. Luca rarely raised his voice, his control too ingrained. He visibly wrestled himself back to calm. I'm sorry. But Aurora, you don't understand what Dimitri is capable of, what he'll do if he gets the opportunity. Then help me understand. Stop shielding me and talk to me like your partner, not a child who needs protection from scary stories. He studied me for a long moment, conflict clear in his expression. Then he pulled out his phone, scrolling until he found what he wanted. He turned the screen toward me. The photograph showed a crime scene. A woman, young and pregnant, her body positioned carefully on a bed surrounded by children's toys. It was staged to look peaceful, like she was sleeping, but the caption beneath told a different story. That's Dimitri's wife, Irina, Luca said quietly. After the baby died, after everything fell apart, she couldn't cope. Dimitri blamed me for pushing her over the edge. This is what he found when he came home from trying to negotiate peace between us. Horror washed through me. She killed herself, while 7 months pregnant with a dead child still inside her. His voice was flat, reciting facts to distance himself from emotion. Dimitri found her like this, and in his grief, in his rage, he decided I was responsible for everything. That if I hadn't pushed so hard, hadn't demanded so much, she'd still be alive. Were you responsible? The question hung between us, dangerous and necessary. I needed to know what level of culpability my husband carried, what ghosts haunted the man I loved. I was responsible for creating a situation where terrible choices had to be made, he said finally. Dimitri was embezzling from the Bratva, planning to disappear with their money. I found out, used it as leverage to force him to work with me instead of against me. The stress of that position, of being caught between two powers, broke his wife. Did you know she was suicidal? No, if I had... He broke off, jaw working. I'd like to think I would have made different choices. But 5 years ago, I was someone who prioritized outcomes over casualties, who believed the ends justified the means. And now? Now I have you, have our child growing inside you, and the thought of losing either of you the way Dimitri lost his family. His voice cracked. I can't, Aurora. I physically cannot allow that to happen. I moved back to him, taking his face in my hands. Then we don't let it happen. Together. But Luca, you can't protect me by controlling me. That's not love. That's fear wearing love's face. What would you have me do? Send you to the bakery with guards following your every move? Let you maintain your routine while someone plans to use you against me? Yes. I held his gaze steadily. Exactly that. Because the alternative is letting Dimitri win without him even making a move. He wants to destroy what we have. Then we don't let him. We keep living, keep building, keep moving forward. With appropriate precautions, but without surrendering our lives. He pulled me close, his forehead resting against mine. You're asking me to be rational when every instinct is screaming at me to lock you in the safest room and guard the door personally. I know, and I love you for those instincts. But trust me to be smart, to be careful, to work with you instead of against you. A knock at the door interrupted us. Marco's voice came through. Sir, we have movement. One of Dimitri's associates was spotted near the bakery. Ice flooded my veins. My bakery, where Maria and 3 other staff would be arriving within the hour to start the day's baking. Evacuate the building, Luca ordered, already moving. Get everyone out safely and lock it down. I want surveillance on all approaches. Luca, I started. Not negotiable. His voice was steel. Your staff's safety isn't up for debate. The bakery stays closed until this is resolved." He was right, much as I hated to admit it. I couldn't risk my employees becoming collateral damage in Dimitri's revenge. But the thought of my business, my dream, sitting empty because of someone else's vendetta made anger burn alongside fear. "Then I work from here," I said. "I develop new recipes, plan the expansion, handle administrative work. The business doesn't stop just because the physical location is compromised." Luca nodded, relief evident. "That I can agree to." The next 3 days settled into tense routine. I commandeered Luca's kitchen, testing recipes while his men reported in with updates. Dimitri's associate had been followed to an apartment in Brighton Beach, but by the time they'd arrived, he'd vanished. 2 more sightings, both gone before they could be captured. Dimitri was playing with us, letting us see just enough to know he was close, but not enough to catch him. On the 4th morning, I woke to sharp cramping in my abdomen. Not severe, but enough to send panic shooting through me. Luca was already awake, on a call with someone. He took one look at my face and ended it immediately. "What's wrong?" "Pain. Not bad, but..." Another cramp made me wince. He had me in the car within minutes, Marco driving while Luca held my hand, and spoke calmly about probability and early pregnancy complications being common but manageable. The medical professional in him emerged, the version that could recite statistics while his eyes betrayed his terror. Dr. Martinez met us at her office, squeezing us in before her regular appointments. The examination was thorough, her face professionally neutral throughout. Each second of silence felt like an eternity. "There's the heartbeat," she finally said, turning the monitor toward us. "Still flickering, still strong. Baby looks fine. You're experiencing round ligament pain, completely normal as your uterus expands. Nothing to worry about." The relief was so intense I started crying. Luca pulled me close, his own breathing unsteady. "However," Dr. Martinez continued, "your blood pressure is elevated. Not dangerously so, but higher than I'd like at this stage. Mrs. Rossi, are you under unusual stress?" I laughed through my tears. "You could say that. Then my prescription is simple: reduce stress. Whatever is causing it, find ways to minimize its impact. Stress isn't good for you or the baby." In the car ride home, Luca was silent, his expression thoughtful. When we pulled up to the house, he helped me inside, and then made a call. "Gather everyone," he said into the phone. "War room, 1 hour. It's time to shift from defense to offense." I looked at him questioningly. "You were right," he said. "We can't live like this indefinitely. Dimitri is counting on us being reactive, staying hidden, waiting for his move. So we change the game. We draw him out, on our terms, in a situation we control." "How?" His smile was dangerous, the predator emerging, by giving him exactly what he wants: access to you. Luca. Controlled access, supervised, protected, but enough to make him commit to a move. He cupped my face gently. "Trust me?" I searched his eyes and found determination, love, and careful calculation. This was the man who'd built an empire by thinking 3 moves ahead, who'd survived in a world where hesitation meant death. "I trust you," I said. "So tell me the plan." The war room, what had once been a formal dining room, had transformed into a command center. Maps covered the table, photographs pinned to boards, laptops displaying surveillance feeds. 8 men stood around the table, Luca's most trusted, each with a specific expertise. Marco was there, along with faces I'd seen occasionally, but never formally met. "Gentlemen," Luca began, his voice carrying absolute authority. "We've been playing defense for 5 days. That ends now. We're going to force Dimitri's hand, draw him out where we want him, and end this permanently." He gestured for me to join him at the table's head. Several men shifted uncomfortably. involving me directly in operational planning clearly violated their sense of protocol. Mrs. Rossi is not just my wife, Luca continued, addressing their unspoken concerns. She's the target, which makes her perspective essential. And she's proven in the past that she's more capable than most of you assumed. I caught Marco's slight smile. He'd been there when I'd first faced down Luca, had seen me evolve from frightened waitress to confident partner. The plan is simple, Luca said, pulling up a map of Central Park on one of the laptops. Aurora has a meeting scheduled with a potential investor for the bakery's expansion. The meeting was arranged 3 weeks ago. Public knowledge for anyone monitoring her business communications. Which Dimitri undoubtedly is, Marco added. Exactly. We don't cancel it. We proceed as planned, but with modifications. Luca traced a route on the map. The meeting is at Tavern on the Green, midday high traffic. Aurora arrives with visible but not overwhelming security. Just enough to make it look like we're being cautious, but not paranoid. You're making me bait, I said, understanding dawning. I'm giving Dimitri an opportunity he can't resist, Luca corrected. One that looks natural, not staged. He'll have to commit resources, show himself or his people, and when he does, we'll be ready, Marco finished. Full tactical team positioned throughout the park. Snipers on rooftops. Every approach monitored. The moment he makes a move, we close the trap. And if something goes wrong? I asked. If he's smarter than you're anticipating? Then I'll be there, Luca said simply. 10 feet from you at all times. He doesn't get close enough to touch you, Aurora. This isn't reckless. It's calculated. I studied the plan, the positioning of forces, the backup contingencies. It was thorough, professional, the kind of operation that came from years of strategic thinking. What about the investor? I asked. The real person I'm supposed to meet. Martin Greenberg, retired banker, legitimate businessman. Luca pulled up a file. He's being contacted this morning with a generous consulting fee to reschedule. We'll use one of my people in his place, someone who can maintain the facade while actually being trained protection. So the whole meeting is a setup. The whole meeting is a trap. One that gives us control of the situation, while appearing to give Dimitri the opening he's been waiting for. One of the other men, introduced as Alexei, spoke up. What if he doesn't bite? What if he sees through it? Then we've lost nothing except time, and we continue searching, Luca replied. But I know Dimitri. He's waited 5 years for this. He's not going to let an opportunity pass just because it seems convenient. His rage will override his caution. You're betting my safety on that assumption, I pointed out. I'm betting on multiple layers of protection and overwhelming force, he countered. The assumption just determines whether this happens tomorrow, or we manufacture another opportunity. Either way, we're moving to a fence. I looked around the table at the serious faces, the professional competence. These men had kept Luca alive through years of dangerous business. They'd proven their capability dozens of times. Okay, I said. Tomorrow at noon. Tavern on the Green. But I have conditions. Luca raised an eyebrow. Conditions? If this goes wrong, if at any point it looks like Dimitri is going to succeed, you get out. You don't risk yourself trying to save me. Our baby needs at least one parent. Aurora. No negotiation on this, Luca. Those are my terms for agreeing to your plan. You're asking me to trust you with my safety. I'm asking you to promise me you won't throw your life away if things go sideways. The silence stretched. Every man in the room carefully studied the maps, the walls, anything but the naked emotion on Luca's face. I can't make that promise, he finally said. If it comes down to your life or mine, there's no choice. You're carrying our child. You're everything I've built this life for. I won't survive without you, so there's no point in surviving without you. The raw honesty of it cracked something in my chest. I moved around the table to him, taking his hands. Then we make sure neither of us has to survive without the other, I said. We execute this plan perfectly, and tomorrow night we're back here, safe, with Dmitri no longer a threat. He pulled me close, heedless of his men witnessing the vulnerability. Tomorrow night, he agreed against my hair. Safe. The rest of the day passed in preparation. I was fitted with a GPS tracker so small it looked like a normal earring. Given an emergency phone with a single button that would alert every man on Luca's team simultaneously. Walked through the route multiple times, learning exactly where to move if things went wrong. That night, Luca and I lay in bed, neither sleeping. His hand rested on my stomach, feeling for the movement that was still too early to detect from the outside. "Tell me something," I said into the darkness. "About after, when this is over. What do you want to know?" "Everything. What you imagine for our family. The baby's first words, their first steps. Whether we'll have more children. What our lives look like in 5 years, 10 years. He was quiet for a moment, organizing thoughts. I imagine teaching them to read, your grandmother's recipe books spread across the kitchen table, taking them to the bakery, letting them decorate cookies with terrible technique and complete joy. Saturday mornings where we're all covered in flour and laughter. More children? If you want them, as many as you want. His hand spread wider across my stomach. I imagine a house full of noise and chaos and love. Everything I never had growing up. Your childhood was that lonely? My childhood was preparation for empire, he said. Lessons in power, in control, in never showing weakness. Love was a liability in my father's eyes. Attachment made you vulnerable. And now? Now I know he was wrong. Love isn't a liability. It's the reason to build something worth protecting. He turned to face me, his eyes reflecting the moonlight through our windows. You taught me that, Aurora. You and this baby I haven't even met yet. You're teaching me that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courage. I kissed him then, pouring into it every ounce of love and fear and hope I carried. He responded with matching intensity, his hands gentle on my body despite the passion between us. Afterward, curled against his chest, I finally spoke the fear that had been growing. What if tomorrow changes you? What if dealing with Dmitri brings back the man you were before? It might, he admitted. Some things, once learned, can't be unlearned. The capacity for violence doesn't disappear just because you choose not to use it. That's not reassuring. It's honest. He stroked my hair with steady rhythm. But Aurora, you're my anchor. You and this child. Whatever I have to become tomorrow to keep you safe, you're the reason I'll come back from it. You're the reminder of why I changed in the first place. Promise me something. Anything. If you have to do terrible things tomorrow, tell me about them. Don't carry that weight alone. We face everything together, even the darkness. His arms tightened around me. Together. Always. Morning came too quickly. I dressed carefully, choosing clothes that looked business appropriate but allowed movement. The earring GPS tracker felt foreign but quickly faded into normalcy. I checked my reflection. I looked calm, professional, like a woman heading to an important meeting. Not like bait in an elaborate trap. Downstairs, Luca was already dressed, his suit immaculate, but I noticed the slight bulk at his side that meant he was armed. Marco and 2 others waited by the car, their vigilance evident despite casual postures. Ready? Luca asked, offering his hand. I took it, squeezing firmly. Ready. The drive to Central Park was quiet, each of us lost in preparation. The city passed by the windows, people going about their normal lives, unaware that somewhere in that crowd, a man with revenge on his mind was waiting. We arrived at Tavern on the Green 30 minutes early, time for Luca's people to do final sweeps. I was escorted to the private dining room, where the meeting would take place. The man posing as Martin Greenberg was already there, looking convincingly like a retired banker. "Mrs. Rossi," he greeted warmly. "Thank you for meeting me." We settled into the performance, discussing the bakery's expansion plans, projected revenues, market analysis. Anyone watching would see a normal business meeting. They wouldn't see the weapon holstered beneath his jacket or the communication device hidden in his collar. Luca sat at a table 10 feet away, apparently working on his laptop, but actually monitoring multiple surveillance feeds. Marco was positioned at the entrance. Other team members scattered throughout the building and surrounding park. 30 minutes into the meeting, Marco's voice crackled softly through the communication device disguised as a phone on the table. Movement on the east entrance. 3 men, matching descriptions of known associates. My heart rate spiked. This was it. "Stay calm," the fake Martin murmured, not breaking character. "Continue as planned." I launched into a detailed description of the lavender macaron recipe, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. Another 10 minutes passed. The men outside were moving closer, their positions triangulating on our location. "They're making their approach," Marco updated. "Coordinated movement. This is it." Luca stood smoothly, closing his laptop and moving to my side with casual ease. To anyone watching, he was simply a protective husband joining his wife's meeting. "Mrs. Rossi," he said clearly, loud enough to be heard. "I'm afraid we need to leave. There's been a situation at the house." The code phrase. Everything was in place. I stood, gathering my things with deliberate slowness, giving Dimitri's men time to commit. We moved toward the exit, Luca's hand at my back, the fake Martin following at a professional distance. We were 20 feet from the door when it happened. The lights went out. In the sudden darkness, I heard running footsteps, shouts, the sound of something heavy hitting the floor. Luca's arm locked around me, pulling me down and behind him in one fluid motion. "Aurora, stay down." Gunshots split the air, muzzle flashes illuminating chaos. I pressed myself against the floor, hands protecting my stomach, as violence erupted around me. This wasn't the clean operation Luca had planned. This was war. The darkness was absolute, disorienting. My heartbeat thundered in my ears, drowning out everything except the sharp cracks of gunfire and Luca's harsh breathing above me. His body covered mine protectively, a human shield between me and whatever danger filled the room. "Marco, report." Luca's voice was deadly calm despite the chaos. Static, then Marco's voice crackling through. "Explosion at the transformer station. They knocked out power to the entire block. This wasn't just 3 men. It's a coordinated assault. We've got 8, maybe 10 hostiles converging on your position. Back up? En route. 2 minutes out. Sir, you need to move her now." Luca's hand found mine in the darkness, his grip firm. "Aurora, listen to me carefully. We're going to move to the kitchen exit. Stay low, stay close. Don't let go of my hand." "Okay." My voice shook despite my efforts to sound calm. We started moving, Luca leading me through the blackness with the confidence of someone who'd memorized every inch of the layout. Around us, I could hear other movements, his men engaging Dimitri's, the controlled chaos of a firefight. Something crashed nearby, too close. Luca yanked me sideways just as bullets punched through where we'd been standing. Splinters of wood exploded from the wall, raining down on us. "Kitchen, 30 feet, Luca muttered, more to himself than me. 25. 20. Emergency lights flickered on, casting everything in eerie red glow. In that sudden illumination, I saw them, 3 men in tactical gear, weapons raised, between us and the exit. Luca moved before I could process what was happening. His gun appeared in his hand, and he fired 3 shots in rapid succession. 2 men dropped, the third dove behind an overturned table. "Go!" Luca shoved me toward a different direction, toward the main dining room where civilians had been eating lunch. "Get out through the front." "Not without you," I'll be right behind you, go. Another burst of gunfire made the decision for me. I ran, crouching low, my hands instinctively protecting my stomach. The main dining room was pandemonium. Diners scrambling for exits, staff trying to maintain order, security trying to assess the threat. I pushed through the crowd toward the main entrance, my breath coming in gasps. Almost there, almost safe. A hand clamped on my arm, spinning me around. The man was older than I expected, weathered face lined with grief and rage, his eyes, dead eyes that had lost everything worth living for, locked onto mine with terrible recognition. You, Dmitry Volkov said in heavily accented English. You're carrying his child. Terror froze me. This close, I could see the madness lurking beneath his controlled exterior, the barely restrained violence of someone with nothing left to lose. Let her go, Dmitry. Luka's voice cut through the chaos, cold and absolute. He stood 15 feet away, gun trained on Dmitry's head, his stance rock solid despite the civilians still fleeing around us. Ah, Luka. Dmitry's smile was a terrible thing. Finally, we meet again. You've aged well for a man who destroys families. This is between us. Let Aurora go, and we'll settle it. You and me, like it should have been 5 years ago. Like it should have been? Dmitry's laugh was broken glass. There is no settling it, Luka. You took everything from me. My Irina, my Lucia, my future. So I take yours. Fair trade. Yes? His grip on my arm tightened painfully. I felt something hard press against my side. Another gun. You shoot me, I shoot her, Dmitry said conversationally. Maybe I die, but so does she. So does your child. We all go to hell together. There's another option. Marco appeared behind Dmitry, his gun pressed against the base of Dmitry's skull. You let Mrs. Rossi go. Drop your weapon, and we don't paint these walls with your brain. A standoff. 4 people locked in a deadly geometry where any wrong move meant death. You think I fear death? Dmitry asked. I've been dead since Irina took her last breath. This body just kept moving. Shooting me would be mercy. Then why wait 5 years? I asked, my voice surprisingly steady. If you wanted revenge, why not come for Luka immediately after your wife died? Dmitry's eyes flickered to me, surprised I'd spoken. Because quick death was too kind. I wanted him to build something beautiful, something he loved, something that made life worth living. And then I wanted to destroy it the way he destroyed mine. Your wife's death was a tragedy, I said. But Luka didn't kill her. Her choices, your choices, the impossible situation you both found yourselves in. That's what killed her. Blaming him doesn't bring her back. You know nothing, Dmitry spat. You weren't there. Didn't see her face when she realized what I'd gotten us into. What I'd risked. What Luka was forcing me to do. The stress killed my daughter. The guilt killed my Irina. You're right. I wasn't there. My hand moved to cover my stomach, the protective gesture automatic. But I'm here now, carrying a child who has done nothing wrong, who deserves to be born, to have a life. Please, whatever you need to settle with Luka, don't punish an innocent baby for sins that aren't theirs. Something shifted in Dmitry's expression. A crack in the madness. His eyes dropped to where my hand rested over my stomach, and I saw the flash of pain that crossed his face. Boy or girl? He asked roughly. Too early to know. Irina wanted a girl. Said she would teach her to bake, to paint, to see beauty in the world. His voice broke slightly. She never got the chance. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it. I'm so sorry for your loss, for your pain. But adding more death doesn't balance the scales. It just creates more grief, more empty futures, more children who never get to meet their parents. Aurora, Luca's voice carried a warning. He could see what I was doing, the risk I was taking by engaging Dmitri emotionally. But I pressed on. You said Luca took everything from you, but you're about to do the same thing to him, to become exactly what you hate. Is that what Irina would want? Would she want you to kill a pregnant woman in her name? Dimitri's hand shook slightly where it gripped my arm. Don't speak her name. You didn't know her. No. But I know grief. Know what it's like to lose someone you love, to feel like the world should stop turning, because your world has ended. I thought of my grandmother, of the emptiness her death had left. And I know that revenge doesn't fill that emptiness. It just creates more. Pretty words, Dmitri said bitterly. But they don't change what he did. Don't erase what I lost. No. Nothing can change the past. But you can choose what happens next. You can choose to let this baby live. To let me live. To end the cycle instead of perpetuating it. The silence stretched. The restaurant had emptied, police sirens wailing in the distance. It was just us now, locked in this terrible moment where everything balanced on the edge of a blade. Sir. Marco's voice was gentle but firm. SWAT is positioning outside. You have maybe 60 seconds before they storm the building. Let her go and we can walk out of here alive. Alive, Dmitri repeated hollowly. What is alive when everything that made life worth living is gone? It's the chance to find new meaning, I said. New purpose. It's the choice to honor Irina's memory by not creating more widows, more orphans, more grief. Dmitri looked at me for a long moment. Really looked, seeing past the symbol I represented to the actual person standing terrified before him. Then, slowly, he released my arm. Go, he said quietly. Take your child and go. Live the life Irina never got to live. I didn't move immediately, shocked by the sudden capitulation. Luca was there instantly, pulling me behind him, his gun never wavering from Dmitri. Marco, secure him, Luca ordered. No need. Dmitri set his gun carefully on the floor and raised his hands. I surrender. Luca Rossi, you win. Again. This wasn't about winning, Luca said, his arm around me, checking me for injuries with shaking hands. This was about survival, about protecting what matters. Dimitri's smile was sad. At least you learned that lesson. I learned it too late. Police flooded the building then, taking control of the scene. Dmitri was cuffed and led away, his shoulders slumped in defeat. As he passed us, he paused. Name her Lucia, he said to me, if it's a girl. Let something beautiful grow from all this ugliness. Then he was gone, swallowed by uniforms and protocol. Luca pulled me close, his face buried in my hair, his body shaking with reaction. You could have been killed. He could have shot you the moment I appeared. Aurora, what were you thinking? I was thinking that sometimes words work better than bullets, I said, my own hands trembling as I clung to him, and that our baby deserved every chance I could give them. Our baby nearly ended up without a mother, but didn't. And now Dmitri will spend the rest of his life in prison instead of dead in a restaurant, creating more grief for someone else to carry. He pulled back to look at me, his eyes wet. You're either the bravest or most foolish woman I've ever met. Can I be both? His laugh was shaky, relief and terror mixing. Always both. God help me, always both. Paramedics checked me over despite my protests, confirmed the baby's heartbeat was strong, my blood pressure elevated but manageable given the circumstances. Police took statements. Luca's lawyers arrived, already spinning the narrative toward self-defense and justified response. By the time we finally made it home, evening had fallen. The house felt different somehow, lighter, like a burden had been lifted from its foundations. Maria had prepared dinner, but neither of us could eat. We sat in the garden instead, Luca's arms around me, watching stars emerge in the darkening sky. "It's over," I said, testing the words. "Really over." "It's over," he confirmed. "Dmitri will be charged with enough crimes to ensure he never walks free. His associates are being rounded up. The threat is neutralized." "And us?" "Us," he repeated, his hand finding my stomach. "We get to live. We get to raise this baby in peace. We get the future Dmitri wanted to steal." I turned in his arms, needing to see his face. "Are you okay? Really okay? You had to become that version of yourself again today, the violent one." "I did what was necessary," he said carefully. "And yes, there's a part of me that falls back into old patterns easily, maybe too easily. But Aurora, the difference is you. Coming home to you. Knowing that tomorrow I get to wake up next to you. That we're building something together. That keeps me tethered to the man I want to be instead of the man I was." "I love you," I said simply. "All of you. Even the dangerous parts. I love you too. More than I have words for." He kissed me softly. "Now let's go inside and check on our baby properly. After today, I need to hear that heartbeat again." We went inside, and Luca pulled out the portable Doppler Dr. Martinez had given us. It took a minute to find the right position, and then there it was. The rapid whoosh, whoosh, whoosh of our baby's heartbeat, strong and steady. The sound of life continuing despite everything that tried to stop it. The sound of our future, finally free from the ghosts of Luca's past. 3 months passed in a peace I'd almost forgotten existed. The threat gone. Life settled into a rhythm that felt almost too normal after everything we'd been through. My pregnancy progressed beautifully. Dr. Martinez declared me and the baby perfectly healthy at each appointment. The morning sickness faded, replaced by the unmistakable swell of my growing belly and the flutter of movement that became stronger each day. The bakery reopened with upgraded security that was thorough but not intrusive. Business boomed. Apparently, surviving a dramatic hostage situation had made Aurora's Sweet Haven something of a local legend. I hired 2 more staff members to handle the increased demand, training them on my grandmother's recipes while developing new creations. Luca threw himself into legitimate business with the same intensity he'd once applied to more questionable ventures. The hotel empire expanded. A new restaurant opened. Plans for a boutique hotel chain materialized. He was proving what I'd always believed, that his brilliance didn't require darkness to flourish. We transformed the 4th-floor suite into a nursery, spending weekends debating paint colors and assembling furniture. Luca insisted on doing it himself rather than hiring help, determined to build something with his own hands for our child. "You're nesting," I teased, watching him struggle with crib instructions. "I'm being thorough," he corrected, but his smile gave him away. "Our baby deserves a father who can at least assemble basic furniture. Our baby deserves a father who doesn't throw furniture instructions across the room when they're confusing." He looked at the scattered pages, then back at me. "You saw nothing." I laughed, the sound free and joyful in a way that would have seemed impossible 6 months ago. This was my life now, teasing my husband about baby furniture, feeling our child move inside me, planning a future that stretched ahead without shadows. At 20 weeks, we had the anatomy scan. Luca gripped my hand as Dr. Martinez moved the ultrasound wand across my belly, the baby's form appearing on the screen in remarkable detail. "Everything looks perfect," Dr. Martinez announced. "Strong heartbeat, all measurements on track, no abnormalities detected." "And the gender?" Luca asked, unable to hide his eagerness. We'd discussed waiting to be surprised, but neither of us had the patience. Dr. Martinez smiled. "Congratulations. You're having a daughter." A daughter. The word settled into my chest, warm and perfect. I looked at Luca and saw tears tracking down his face for the second time in our relationship. A girl, he whispered, his hand spreading across my belly where our daughter grew. We're having a girl. Lucia? I asked softly, remembering Dimitri's request. Luca shook his head. No, that name carries too much pain, too much history. Our daughter deserves her own identity, not one borrowed from ghosts. Then what? He thought for a moment. Sophia. It means wisdom. And God knows, with us as parents, she'll need it. I laughed through my own tears. Sophia Rossi. It's perfect. That night, we celebrated with dinner at home, a quiet evening that felt more significant than any party. Marco and Maria joined us, the household staff that had become family. We toasted with sparkling water and shared plans for Sophia's future. She'll be a terror, Marco predicted, with her father's determination and her mother's stubborn streak. She'll be perfect, Maria corrected, already knitting tiny booties with yarn soft as clouds. Later, lying in bed with Luca's hand resting on my bare belly, I felt Sophia kick, a strong, definite movement that made us both freeze. Was that? That was her, I confirmed, guiding his hand to the spot. Say hello to your daughter. Another kick, as if Sophia knew her father was paying attention. Luca's face transformed with wonder, the hardened businessman disappearing entirely in favor of an awed father-to-be. Hello, Piccolina, he murmured to my belly. This is your papa. I promise you'll never want for anything. You'll be loved, protected, cherished every day of your life. You're going to spoil her rotten, I predicted. Absolutely. That's my right as a father. He kissed my stomach gently. But Aurora, I need to tell you something. About Sophia. About our future. The seriousness in his tone made anxiety flutter. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. But I've been thinking about what kind of world we're bringing her into. What kind of father I want to be, versus what kind of father my history suggests I'll be. Luca, let me finish. He sat up, pulling me with him so we faced each other. I built an empire on foundations that weren't entirely clean. You know that. You've accepted it. But I don't want Sophia growing up in that shadow. I don't want her to one day Google her father's name and find articles questioning whether I'm a criminal. So, what are you saying? I'm saying I'm getting out. Completely. The last remaining gray areas of my business. I'm selling them off, restructuring, cleaning house entirely. By the time Sophia is born, the Rossi empire will be 100% legitimate. No questionable partnerships, no business relationships that depend on intimidation or fear. I stared at him, processing. That's a massive undertaking. Those connections, those relationships, they've been part of your world for decades. And they can be part of someone else's world. I don't need them anymore. His hand covered mine on my belly. I need this. I need you. I need Sophia to grow up proud of her father, not afraid of what he's capable of. This will make enemies, I said slowly. People who depend on your old network won't be happy about losing access to it. Let them be unhappy. Let them find someone else to do their dirty work. His voice was steel. I've made my choice. My family is my legacy now, not my empire. The sacrifice he was offering, the complete abandonment of the power structure that had defined him, made my chest tight with emotion. Are you sure? Once you walk away from that world, there's no going back. I've never been more sure of anything. He kissed me softly. Except maybe marrying you. Over the next month, Luca systematically dismantled the darker aspects of his business. Partnerships dissolved. Contracts renegotiated. Longtime associates called in for final meetings where Luca made clear his new direction. Some understood, some didn't. But all respected the finality of his decision enough not to push back. Marco worried quietly about security implications. Cutting ties with certain elements meant losing their protection as well. But Luca hired a legitimate security firm, the kind that government officials used, and maintained only the connections that could withstand scrutiny. I watched the transformation with amazement. The man I'd met in an elevator, who'd intimidated and intrigued me in equal measure, was choosing a completely different path. Not because I'd demanded it, but because he wanted to be worthy of our daughter's love. At 6 months pregnant, I was full of energy and plans. The bakery's expansion was moving forward, a second location in Brooklyn, with Maria taking over as head chef. I'd finally accepted that I couldn't do everything myself, that building something lasting meant trusting others with pieces of my dream. Luca teased me about my nesting instincts intensifying. I reorganized Sophia's nursery 3 times, tested and retested recipes for baby-safe first birthday cakes, created spreadsheets for every possible scenario we might face as parents. "You know babies don't follow schedules," he said, amused, as I color-coded a feeding plan. "These babies do. Sophia is going to be organized and calm, just like her mother." He laughed outright at that. Her mother who reorganized an entire nursery because the dresser was 2 inches off center. That calm mother. I threw a pillow at him, which he caught easily, his laughter warm and free. These were the moments I treasured most. The ordinary, domestic happiness that felt like the greatest victory. We'd survived threats and violence and the ghosts of Luca's past. And now we got this. Pillows thrown in jest, debates about paint colors, the shared anticipation of meeting our daughter. But peace, I was learning, was never permanent. It was a Tuesday evening, 1 month before my due date, when everything shifted again. I was at the bakery, closing up with Maria, when my phone rang. Luca's name on the screen. "Hey, I'm just finishing up. I'll be home in..." "Aurora." His voice stopped me cold, tight, controlled, terrified. "Where are you exactly?" "The bakery, with Maria. What's wrong?" "Stay there. Don't leave, don't go outside. Don't open the door for anyone except Marco. He's 5 minutes away." My heart rate spiked. "Luca, you're scaring me. What's happening?" "There's been a development. Someone from my past. Someone I thought was handled. They've resurfaced. And they're asking questions about you." He paused. "About Sophia." Ice flooded my veins. "Who?" "Victor Kozlov. Remember him from the gallery opening 18 months ago? He's made a move, and Aurora, it's bad. He's kidnapped the daughter of the judge who convicted Dmitri. Holding her hostage, demanding I hand over certain business territories I used to control. The ones you just got out of." "Exactly. Territories I no longer have leverage in, deals I can't deliver on. But he doesn't believe that. Thinks I'm lying to avoid giving up power." "Why take the judge's daughter? Why not come for us directly?" "Because he's smart. He knows direct confrontation would fail. My security is too good. So he's creating pressure, demonstrating what he's capable of, showing me that if I don't give him what he wants, next time it could be you." I sank onto a stool, my hand automatically moving to my belly. Sophia kicked, as if sensing my distress. "What do we do?" "Marco is bringing you home. Full security protocols. We're not taking chances this time, Aurora. Not when you're this close to your due date." "And the judge's daughter? We can't just abandon her." "We won't. I'm working with the authorities, using every resource I have. But my first priority is keeping you and Sophia safe." "Your first priority should be saving that girl." "Aurora." "No." "Luca, listen to me. We talked about this. About not letting fear control us. About facing problems together. If Victor sees he can manipulate you through threats against us, it never ends. There's always another hostage, another demand." "What are you suggesting?" "I'm suggesting we help find that girl. We work with the police to end Victor's threat permanently, and we do it without hiding. with appropriate security, but without giving up our lives to fear. The silence stretched. I could practically hear him calculating risks, weighing options. "Sophia is due in 4 weeks, he finally said. 4 weeks, Aurora. I can't risk. Then we end this in the next 3 weeks. We find Victor. We save that girl. And we make sure that by the time our daughter is born, she comes into a world where her parents didn't abandon someone else's child to protect themselves." Another pause. Then, quietly, "You're going to make me gray before I'm 40. Probably. But you'll be gray and righteous, which is better than young and guilt-ridden." His laugh was strained. "Marco will be there in 2 minutes. We'll talk more when you're home safe. I love you. I love you too. Both of you." Marco arrived as promised, his presence solid and reassuring. The drive home was tense, my mind racing with possibilities and fears. Victor Kozlov had been a shadow in our lives for so long, occasionally surfacing to cause problems before retreating. But kidnapping? That was an escalation that suggested desperation. At home, I found Luca in his study, surrounded by screens showing surveillance feeds and maps. He looked up as I entered, his expression taut. "Tell me everything," I said, lowering myself carefully into a chair. At 7 months pregnant, Grace had become optional. He briefed me on what they knew. The judge's daughter, Emily, 16 years old, had been taken from her after-school job 2 days ago. Victor had sent a single message: "Return the territories or she dies." No negotiation, no timeline, just the ultimatum. "The police are involved?" I asked. "FBI, actually. Kidnapping across state lines makes it federal. They're coordinating with my people, but they're also watching me closely, making sure I don't take matters into my own hands." "Are you planning to?" "If it comes to that, yes. But I'm hoping it doesn't." He pulled up another screen, this one showing financial transactions. "Victor's been sloppy. He needed money fast to set this up, which means he left traces. We're following them, narrowing down possible locations." "How long until you find her?" "Best guess? 72 hours. Maybe less if we get lucky." "And if Victor decides he's done waiting?" Luca's expression hardened. "Then we hope the FBI moves faster than he does." Over the next 2 days, I watched the investigation unfold from our home. Luca barely slept, coordinating between his people and law enforcement, following leads that twisted through the city's underworld. I helped where I could, using my outsider perspective to spot patterns they might miss. "Here," I said on the second night, pointing to a map. "These 3 locations Victor used for other operations. They're all near water, rivers, harbors, the bay. That's his pattern. He likes escape routes that aren't roads." Luca studied the map, then picked up his phone. "Check maritime properties within this radius," he told whoever answered. "Warehouses, dock buildings, anything near water with enough space to hold someone." Within an hour, they'd narrowed it to 5 locations. By dawn of the 3rd day, they'd found her. Emily was being held in an abandoned fish processing plant near the harbor, exactly where patterns suggested. FBI moved in at first light, Luca's security team coordinating from the outside to ensure no escape routes. I watched the operation unfold on surveillance feeds, Luca tense beside me, his hand gripping mine hard enough to hurt. Sophia was particularly active that morning, responding to our stress with kicks and movement. "There," Marco said, pointing to a screen. "They've got eyes on her. She's alive, appears unharmed." The assault happened fast, practiced efficiency that came from extensive training. Victor's men put up a fight, but they were outmatched and unprepared for coordinated law enforcement response. Victor himself tried to run, making for a boat docked at the processing plant's pier. But Marco's team had anticipated the move, cutting off his escape. The last image I saw was Victor on his knees, hands cuffed behind his back, Emily being carried out by paramedics, shaken but whole. It's over, Luca said, exhaling deeply. Really over this time. Until the next threat, I said quietly. There won't be a next threat. Not like this. He turned to me, taking my face in his hands. Victor was the last connection to my old life. The last person with reason to come after us. With him in custody, testifying against his own organization to reduce his sentence, that entire network collapses. We're finally free, Aurora. Truly free. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to think we could raise Sophia in peace, without looking over our shoulders. But I'd learned that freedom wasn't something given once and kept forever. It was something you fought for continually, defending it against whatever threats emerged. Still, for now, we had won. The judge's daughter was safe. Victor was in custody. And in less than a month, we'd welcome our daughter into a world that was marginally less dangerous than it had been. That night, as I lay in bed feeling Sophia's movements, Luca beside me with his hand on my belly, I allowed myself to hope. Hope that the worst was behind us. Hope that our daughter would know only the love and security we could provide, not the darkness we'd fought through to reach this peace. Hope that sometimes, against all odds, happy endings were possible, even for people like us. The call came at 3 a.m, 4 weeks to the day after Victor's arrest. I woke to Luca's phone buzzing insistently, his quiet cursing as he answered. Then the change in his voice that meant something was very wrong. When? A pause. How many? Another pause, longer. I'll be there in 30 minutes. He ended the call and turned to me, his face illuminated by the phone's glow. There's been an incident. Fire at one of the warehouses near the docks. 2 of my men are trapped inside. I sat up slowly, my 8-month pregnant belly making grace impossible. Are they okay? Unknown. Fire department is on scene, but it's bad. I need to go, make sure everything that can be done is being done. I'm coming with you. Aurora, don't. We're past the point where you tell me to stay home wrapped in protective cotton. Those men work for you, which means they're family. I'm coming. He studied me for a moment, then nodded. Get dressed. Warm clothes. And if at any point I tell you to wait in the car, you wait in the car. Deal. 20 minutes later, we were in the SUV with Marco driving. The warehouse was in the industrial district, an area that looked apocalyptic at night. Vacant buildings and empty lots interspersed with still functioning businesses. As we got closer, I could see the orange glow against the sky, smoke billowing into the night. Fire trucks clustered around the burning building, their lights painting everything in flashing red. Firefighters moved with practiced efficiency, but even from a distance, I could tell the situation was dire. Luca was out of the car before we'd fully stopped, striding toward a fire chief who stood coordinating efforts. I followed more slowly, Marco's hand at my elbow to steady me over the uneven ground. Still inside, west corner of the building, the fire chief was saying, "We can't get to them yet. The structure is compromised, and there's some kind of chemical storage that's making the fire burn hotter than normal." How long? Luca's voice was tight with barely controlled fear. We're doing everything we can, Mr. Rossi. But honestly, at this temperature, if they're still alive, they're alive. Luca cut him off, and you're going to get them out. An explosion from inside the warehouse sent everyone ducking, flames shooting through collapsed sections of roof. My hands instinctively covered my belly, protecting Sophia from debris that couldn't actually reach us. Luca, I said quietly, moving to his side. Let them do their job. Those are my men in there, Aurora. Giuseppe and Anthony. Giuseppe has a wife and 3 kids. Anthony just got engaged last month. His hands clenched into fists. This should have been a simple patrol. Check the premises. Ensure no one was using the abandoned warehouse for illegal activity. It shouldn't have ended like this. It's not over yet. We waited. Minutes stretched into eternities, each one marked by Sophia's movements inside me, by the progress of the fire crews, by Luca's visible tension. Then, motion near the building. Firefighters emerging, 2 figures supported between them, faces covered in soot but moving, alive. Luca was running before I could process what I was seeing. He reached Giuseppe and Anthony as paramedics took over, his hands on their shoulders, checking them personally, despite the medical professionals trying to do their jobs. "Boss," Giuseppe rasped, his voice rough from smoke. "Sorry. We tried to contain it, but the fire spread too fast." "You're alive. That's all that matters." Luca's voice cracked slightly. "Get checked out. Take whatever time you need to recover. Your families will be taken care of." I watched from a distance as Luca ensured his men received proper care, as he spoke to the fire chief about causes and next steps, as he dealt with arriving police who wanted statements. This was the leader his people followed, not because of fear, but because he genuinely cared about their well-being. When he finally returned to me, exhaustion lined his face. "They're going to be okay. Smoke inhalation, some minor burns, but nothing life-threatening." "Good." I took his hand. "Now can we go home?" Sophia is protesting this excitement rather vigorously. He looked at my belly, where visible movement rippled across the fabric of my coat. "Is she okay?" "She's fine, just active. Apparently she inherits her father's tendency to be awake at all hours during crises." His laugh was tired but genuine. "She comes by it honestly then." The drive home was quiet, both of us processing the night's events. Back at the townhouse, dawn was breaking, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. "I can't do this anymore," Luca said suddenly as we stood in our bedroom. "Can't send people into situations where they might not come back. Can't build an empire that requires others to risk their lives for my interests." "Luca, you didn't send them into that fire. It was a freak accident." "Was it?" He turned to me, his expression haunted. "Or was it retaliation from someone connected to Victor? A message that even with him in custody, I'm not safe. That people I care about aren't safe. The fire chief will investigate. If it was arson, they'll find evidence. And if it was? If Giuseppe and Anthony nearly died because of my past?" He sat heavily on the bed. "I'm tired, Aurora. Tired of looking over my shoulder. Tired of wondering when the next threat will emerge. Tired of living like we're at war." I sat beside him, taking his hand. "Then what do you want to do?" "I want to sell it. All of it. The hotels, the restaurants, the properties. Keep enough to ensure we're comfortable. Invest the rest conservatively and just live. Focus on Sophia. On you. On building something small and real instead of something large and dangerous." The suggestion shocked me. Luca's empire had defined him for so long, given him purpose and identity beyond his past. "Are you sure? That's your legacy, your life's work." "You and Sophia are my legacy. Everything else is just business." He pressed his palm against my belly where our daughter moved. "I want to be the father who comes to every school play, who teaches her to read and helps with homework and embarrasses her at parent-teacher conferences. I can't do that if I'm constantly managing crisis and watching for threats." "What about your people? Marco, Maria, the others who depend on you?" "They come with us. Generous severance packages for those who want to pursue other opportunities. Positions in whatever smaller ventures I maintain for those who want to stay. I take care of my people, Aurora. Always have. Always will." I thought about what he was proposing. The massive undertaking of selling a business empire. The lifestyle changes that would come with it. The adjustment from power broker to... what? Retired businessman? Stay-at-home father? "Okay," I said finally. He looked at me sharply. "Okay? Okay. If that's what you want, we'll figure it out. Together." I squeezed his hand. "But Luca, You need to be sure. You can't make this decision in the middle of an emotional crisis and then regret it 6 months from now. I've been thinking about it for weeks. Tonight just crystallized it. He pulled me close as my pregnant belly allowed. I want simple, Aurora. Want to watch Sophia grow without wondering if today is the day someone from my past returns. Want to grow old with you without bodyguards and security protocols. Is that too much to ask? It's not too much. It's everything. I kissed him softly. But let's table the big decisions until after Sophia is born. Then, when we're sleep-deprived and covered in spit-up, we can figure out what our new normal looks like. He laughed, some of the tension leaving his shoulders. Deal, though I reserve the right to hire someone to handle the spit-up portions. Not a chance. You're going to be a hands-on father in every messy, unglamorous way. I'm already regretting this. Liar, you're going to love it. He smiled, real and warm. Yeah, I am. The next 2 weeks passed in a strange limbo. The fire investigation concluded it was electrical failure, not arson. A faulty wire in an old building, pure accident. Giuseppe and Anthony recovered fully. Victor's trial date was set. Life settled back into its precarious peace. And then, at 38 weeks pregnant, my water broke. It happened during dinner, a sudden gush that left no question about what was occurring. I looked at Luca, who'd frozen mid-bite, and started laughing. Well, I guess Sophia decided she's ready to meet us. The panic that crossed his face was almost comical. Now? Right now? But we have 2 more weeks. The hospital bag isn't... No, wait. It is. But the car... Luca. I touched his hand. Breathe. We planned for this. Call Dr. Martinez, let her know we're coming. Tell Marco to bring the car around. Everything is going to be fine. He nodded, moving into action mode, his training taking over from his panic. Within 10 minutes, we were in the car headed to the hospital. My contractions still mild but regular. You doing okay? Luca asked for the 5th time. I'm perfect. Stop worrying. I'll stop worrying when she's here, healthy, and you're okay. Then you're going to be worrying for the next 18 years. Probably longer. At the hospital, Dr. Martinez was waiting, calm and professional. Right on time, she said approvingly. Let's go meet your daughter. Labor was long. 16 hours of contractions that went from manageable to excruciating. Luca stayed beside me through all of it, letting me squeeze his hand hard enough to leave bruises, whispering encouragement when I was sure I couldn't continue. You've got this, amore, he murmured during a particularly brutal contraction. You're the strongest person I know. Sophia is so lucky to have you as her mother. If she's so lucky she can come out now, I gasped. But Sophia had her own timeline. It was early morning, sun streaming through the hospital windows, when Dr. Martinez finally said the words I'd been desperate to hear. It's time to push. 3 pushes later, Sophia Rose Rossi entered the world, screaming her displeasure at the cold and brightness and general unfairness of being born. Dr. Martinez placed her on my chest, this tiny, perfect creature with dark hair and eyes that would probably turn the same storm gray as her father's. Hello, Bambina, Luca whispered, his hand gentle on her head. Welcome to the world. I looked at my daughter, then at my husband, who was crying unashamedly as he stared at his child. Everything we'd been through, the threats, the violence, the fear, had led to this moment. She's perfect, I said. She's everything, Luca corrected, kissing my forehead. You both are. The next few hours passed in a blur of tests and visitors, and the overwhelming reality of suddenly being responsible for another human being. Marco brought flowers. Maria brought homemade baby clothes. Even Giuseppe and Anthony, still recovering, stopped by to meet the newest member of the Rossi family. But it was the quiet moments I treasured most. Luca holding Sofia with careful reverence, singing to her in Italian, promising her the world. Watching him transform from powerful businessman to gentle father was witnessing a miracle. That night, after visitors had gone, and Sofia slept in her bassinet beside my bed, Luca pulled out his phone. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Sending an email. To my lawyers, my accountants, everyone who needs to know." He looked at me, his expression peaceful. "I'm officially putting the empire up for sale, effective immediately." "You're sure?" "I've never been more sure." He showed me the email, formal, final, irrevocable. "I have everything I need right here in this room. Everything else is just noise." I watched him press send, watched him close that chapter of his life with a single tap. Then he set down the phone and came to sit beside me, his arm around my shoulders. Both of us watching our daughter sleep. "So what now?" I asked. "What does the great Luca Rossi do in retirement?" "I become the great Sofia Rossi's father, change diapers, walk floors at 3 a.m., learn to function on no sleep." He kissed the top of my head. "And love you both with everything I am." "That's it? That's your whole plan?" "That's more than enough." He looked at our daughter. "She's going to grow up knowing her father chose her. Chose this life with you over power and influence and everything else. She'll never doubt that she's loved, wanted, cherished. She's a lucky girl. I'm the lucky one. Both of you saved me from a life that was hollow at its core. Gave me purpose beyond acquisition and control." His voice dropped to a whisper. "I love you, Aurora. Thank you for crashing into my life and refusing to leave. Thank you for catching me when I fell." We sat in the quiet hospital room, watching Sofia sleep, planning a future that was suddenly wonderfully simple. No empires to manage, no threats to neutralize. Just a family learning to navigate the beautiful chaos of life together. The next morning, as we prepared to take Sofia home, I caught Luca staring at the car seat with confusion. "These instructions make no sense," he muttered, turning them upside down. I hid my smile. "Give them to me. I'll figure it out." I defeated rival organizations and built a business empire. Why can't I install a car seat? Because car seats were designed by evil geniuses to humble proud men. His laugh echoed through the hospital room, free and joyful. And as we finally, successfully, got Sofia secured and headed home, I realized this was our happy ending. Not perfect. Not without challenges ahead. But ours. A family built from an elevator encounter, forged through trials, and strengthened by the choice to keep choosing each other every single day. Sofia Rose Rossi slept peacefully through the drive home, unaware that she'd completed the transformation her father started years ago. From dangerous man to devoted father. From hollow empire to full heart. From running toward something to finally, blissfully arriving